Let's dive into the really strange world of conceptual art. This is a world where a single piece of paper can be way more valuable than a physical sculpture, where an artist's signature can give you permission to create the art you just bought, or even demand that you destroy it. So our story really kicks off in 1990 with this absolutely explosive accusation. You have Donald Judd, who's a titan of minimalist art, and he publishes this scathing essay against Count Giuseppe Panza, who happens to be one of his biggest, most important collectors. And Judd's claim is just wild. He says Panza is literally making his artwork. And this statement, it's so much stranger than it first sounds. It makes you ask some really basic questions. I mean, how is it even possible for a collector to just fabricate an artist's work? What on earth was this original agreement Judd's even talking about? And why would an artist ever give up that kind of control? Well, the answer to all of it is hidden in a really powerful and pretty revolutionary piece of paper. Okay, so to solve this mystery, we've got to shift how we think about this. For artists like Judd, the physical object itself wasn't always the main point. What they were trying to protect was something way more fragile, the core idea. In their world, the most important thing isn't the object you can touch and see. It's the blueprint. And this is it. It's called a permissive certificate. Now, this is not your typical certificate of authenticity that you'd get with a painting. Nope. This document does two incredible things. First, it gives the owner permission to create a piece of art that might not even exist yet. And second, it tells them exactly how to build it. Let's break that down. A traditional certificate, right? It looks backward. It basically says, yep, this specific sculpture right here was definitely made by the artist in the past. But a permissive certificate completely flips that. It looks to the future. It isn't certifying a physical thing that's already there. It's authorizing the creation of an idea. The art is the permission slip. And here's an actual certificate from Judd to Panza for a piece called Untitled 7 Plywood Boxes. You can see it's got hand-drawn sketches, super detailed instructions. It's like a warranty, an IKEA manual, and a legal license all rolled into one. It says Panza can have the work constructed or realized, but, and this is the absolute key, only if it's done in strict and exact compliance with what's on this paper. So that fight between Judd and Panza, it wasn't just a one-off thing. This radical concept that the certificate is the real art, well, it led to a whole series of completely mind-bending disputes that show just how powerful this piece of paper truly is. And things get even weirder with the artist's sole wit. So a collector leaves one of his famous wall drawings to a museum in their will. The museum, following the rules, keeps the certificate and the diagram, which is considered the actual artwork, and then sells the house, painting over the mural on the wall. But then the new homeowner discovers the old drawing and uncovers it. The artwork's reaction was immediate and pretty universal. That thing on the wall, even if Lewitt himself painted it, is not a Lewitt anymore. Why? Because the soul of the artwork, the certificate, was gone. It had moved on. Believe it or not, it gets even more bizarre. In an early work, the artist Damien Hirst painted one of his famous spot paintings right onto a wall. The certificate for it, though, had a rule. The original must be painted out before it is remade for anywhere else. Well, the first owners moved, but they never painted over the wall. The new owners then tried to sell that piece of the wall, but Hirst's lawyers shut it down. As the totally frustrated gallerist said, without the certificate and because the rules were broken, he couldn't even call a painting that was made by Damien Hirst a Damien Hirst. So what is going on here? What gives a simple piece of paper the power to basically create and destroy art, to decide what's real and what isn't? Well, the answer isn't in some high-minded art theory, it's in the law. Here is the secret. These certificates are not just some fancy receipts. They are really, really cleverly constructed legal tools. They're basically copyright licenses dressed up as certificates of authenticity. This was a genius legal hack, really. Traditional laws, you see, they're built to protect physical objects. But what do you do with art that's just an idea, a set of instructions? Well, by framing the certificate as a license, the artist keeps an incredible amount of control. The paper grants you, the owner, permission, a license, to create the artwork from their copyrighted idea. But it is a license with very strict conditions. So if you break those rules, say by using the wrong kind of plywood, like Panza was accused of doing, you are now operating outside the license. And legally, that's called copyright infringement, and it instantly makes the artwork inauthentic. It's an amazing tool that gives artists control over their ideas long after they've been sold. And this whole shift from a physical object to a legal document has these huge implications for the future of art, for museums, and for what it even means to be a collector in the first place. Legal scholar Peter Curl just nails it with this quote. As art becomes more about ideas and data than just physical things, the very definition of value starts to change. Collectors and museums aren't just buying canvas and bronze anymore. They're buying rights and permissions to bring ideas to life. The artist's magic is no longer just in the brushstroke, but in the signature on that legal document. Which brings us right back to that big, final question. The stories of Judd, Lewitt, and Hearst, they show us this world where the physical thing we see with our own eyes can be a ghost, a copy, or maybe even a forgery. The real art is this intangible right written down on a piece of paper. And it really forces us to ask, if what you're buying is just a set of instructions, what do you really own?